We know when you take this algorithm, we have three control structures: sequence, selection, and the repetition. So in this one, today we are mainly we are discussing mainly the selection and the repetitions. That's what we're going to do in today's class. So in here, mainly we discuss one is a selection. As you know, selection, once you come to this condition, based on that you can decide. You can have two parts. One of them can be selected. That is what you call the selection. The iteration is a loop, or which is rotation again and again. We have to run the same thing again and again. That is what we call the repetition or iteration or loop. So initially we discussed the selection and we discussed some past paper question related to the selection. And then we come to the repetition or the loops. Now these two are very important section in the algorithm as well as the Python programming. So as you know, the selection, now as an example, when you come to the junction, we have a selection. Based on your destination, you need to decide. Either you take this path or the other path. So then you have a selection. So based on your requirement, based on your destination, here you have to decide which path you're going to select. So that is in the flow chart we represent by this notation. This diamond shape is the one which represents the selection. Based on the condition, if it is true, one path, if it is false, another path, like here. So you can take one of the path based on your requirement, based on your destination, we have the two options. So this is the one we want to represent in the Python. So as an example, very simple example, whenever you want to decide which number is larger one when you compare the two numbers, assume we have the two numbers, we input the two numbers, we just want to find out which one is a larger one. So we have to write the condition. This is the selection condition. If it is true, if the A is larger than B, you can say A is larger than B. So otherwise, if it is no condition is false, means B is larger than A. So this you have to represent. So this is we called as the selection. Now this is the flow chart for the selection, but most of the time, remember in this A-level paper, last 3 years, they have given kind of complex flow chart. And then they asked to convert that into the Python program. Therefore, you need to understand the steps in the flow chart, and then you need to convert that into the corresponding Python code. So for that, we need to understand how you can represent this in the Python. So in the Python, when you are going to represent this, we are using this word if. The condition of selection we represent in the word if. And we have to follow the syntax in the language. We have the syntax in the language. What is syntax in the language? You can write the, to represent this selection, we can have the word if. And then condition here. And then the colon. Remember, we need to have the colon. So at the end of the condition, the requirement is to have the colon. So assume you family this colon, this one, the double dots, that must be there. So you need to place that one here at the end of the condition. You need to have the colon. That is the syntax. Now remember, when you are writing the next word or next sentence, you need to write with the indentation. That is why I represent this arrow. We have to write in the indentation. Don't write in the same line. Don't write the same line. If you write in the same line, it's wrong. That give the error message. Therefore, to represent the condition of this the selection, we need to have the word if, simple letters, and whatever the condition you can write, and the colon. You need to have the colon. Then after that, the statement that will be executed when the condition is true, that must be written in the indentation, not in the same line. And else part means if the condition is false. If the condition is true, execute this one. If the condition false, execute this one. Else means condition is false. And when you write the else, you have to have the colon again. You have to have the colon again. And then condition. So then you can write the corresponding Python program. So in that Python, the syntax you need to remember, whatever the things you write after the if, Now remember, you can write the word if and the condition and the colon. This colon is compulsory. If you don't put the colon, it's wrong. And the indentation. Don't write it the same line. You need to have the indentation. Remember, you need to have the indentation. If you don't keep the indentation, it generates the error message. And the else part, you can write together. Else part, you can write together. Now, this is the if word. Then you have to write the condition and then the colon. And then you have to write the things with the indentation. Keep the indentation. Else part and the if condition can be aligned together. These two are together. And then once you write the word else, remember, once you write the word else, you have to have the colon again. You have the colon again. And the sentence which must be executed under that should be with the indentations. You have the indentation. If you don't have the indentation, it will give the error message. So then to take that simple example that we have given here, this one. So this is the very simple program where you take the two inputs A and B. So if you want to write the Python code for this one, we can just write a very simple program to just to compare the two numbers and then find out which one is larger. You can take the new file. So first you can take the two numbers. First you can take the two numbers. Now to get the two numbers, I just take the variable as A. And then you have to convert into integer. We can use the input function. And you can ask to enter the value. So enter the value for A. And similarly, you can read the next value B. Int is used to convert into integer. So you can enter the value for B. So now I have just taken the two values. These are you take the two inputs. Use the input method and read the values. But remember the input method take the inputs as strings. So you need to convert it into integer. Now we want to compare those two together. Now in that algorithm, the flow chart here, what you want to do is you want to just, in here what you want to do is you want to just compare these two and find out which one is larger one. So then to write the program for this, so you can just compare if within bracket you can have the condition if the A larger than B. If the A larger than B, remember colon. Colon is needed. If you don't put the colon, it's incorrect. If condition colon. And the next thing is indentation. Indentation. Don't write the same line. Now you can see when I press enter, it automatically keep the indentations. It doesn't start from here. So that indentation is compulsory. Indentation is the one which indicates what lines to be executed. So if the A larger than B, you can say print. We can say A is larger than B, like this. And then else part, else, again the colon, remember else, the colon. Else means condition is false. If the condition is false, we have to say print B is larger than B, like this. So this is a very simple program just to compare the two numbers and find out which one is larger. Now in this case, remember, once you write the condition, the colon is necessary. And after the else part, the colon is necessary. So then you can just save this one. I just write with .py is the extension .py. You can give any name and just give the py, that is for the Python. And then you can just run from here. Now it waits for the input. Now I input the one value is 100, other is 20. Now you can see it says 100 is larger than 20. So that's a very simple program just to take the two values and then just compare the two values and find out which one is larger. So that way you can easily write the program with if condition. So that is how you can write the simple program just to get that output. For this algorithm, I just wrote a simple program. And some instance, remember, we need to have the nested condition, nested selection. So in that case, you can see here, if you look at this flow chart, here we have the first selection. So that selection is represented here. We just compare whether x1 is larger than x2. If it is true, we go to another selection. If it is true, true means this one. If it is true, we go to another selection, this one. That's the second one, this one. That is compared here, this one. So you can see if it is true, we have another selection. Then you can say, when you compare x1 and x2, if it is true means x1 is larger. Then you compare x1 and x3. This is true means x1 is larger one. And this is false means x3 is larger one. However, if this condition is false, this condition false, will come to the else part. That means x2 is the largest. Then you compare x2 and x3. And then if it is true, x2 is largest, otherwise x3 is largest. So basically this program or this flowchart is to determine when the three numbers are input, x1, x2, x3, we want to find out which number is larger. So that can be done with nested selection. That is, if condition has another if condition inside. So in that case, remember, we need to have the proper indentation. Here if condition is started and if condition is over. Here if condition is started and end here. And here if started here, end here. Like, we need to have the proper indentation. If you don't write the proper indentation like this, you will get error. Therefore, you need to maintain the proper indentation when you are going to write the nested selection. If not, it doesn't work. It gives error messages. But however, remember, when you are writing this else if, now here, we are writing this else if as a two words actually. Here, we have the else one word, if another word. So when you are having the else if with two words, we need to have the proper indentation like this. But however, there's another shortcut in the Python which you can write with the one word, which is we write as else if together, ELIF. So which is same as else if. So this difference you need to understand very clearly, because you can see in the past application, they check whether you have the knowledge, the difference between the else if and the ELIF. Now, when you are writing the else if, you can write the two words. Remember, else if you can write the two words. Else is a one word, if is another word. You can write with the two words like this separately. So in that case, proper indentation is needed. But remember, if you are using the one word instead of the two words like this, if you are going to use a one word ELIF, in that case, remember all this if and else should be in the same line, aligned together. This is the difference you should understand. But if you are writing the condition with EL, else and if separate words, not in the single word, so in that case, remember, we need to have the indentation separately. Now, here is a one indentation, here is another indentation, here is another indentation. But here, all line the same indentation, no difference. So that is the key point you should understand, the difference between the else if with two words and ELIF with the one word. When you use the ELIF with the one word, all the lines must be aligned together like this. But here, they are not aligned together. It goes like this. Is that clear? The difference between the else if two words and ELIF with one word. So when you're using the ELIF, what is the key point you should know? We need to keep the same indentation. We need to keep the same indentation. So we'll take the example and then I explain again. Now, if you take the same program I have just written here. Now, this program is to enter the two numbers and find out which number is largest. But here, this program generates error message. This program generates error message. When you the gives error outputs when you give the same values. Now in this one you can see if I enter the one value 100, another value is 100, it says 100 is larger than 100. That is wrong. That's wrong because 100 is not larger than 100. So then you can see that program is not checking that equality. It just check whether which number is larger. That's all. But it doesn't check the equality of the two numbers. This program just compare one number is larger than another one, just identify which one is larger. Even you put the two equal values, that program is not identified they are equal. Therefore, I want to modify this. So then how can I modify it? Then I can write if the A is equal to B. If the A is equal to B, then you can write print A is equal to A is equal to B. Is that clear? That is just to compare them. Sorry, print. Printf is the C language actually. That's it's print. So print that will check the A is equal to B. Then you can see. Then you have to write the else part. Else. So if I run this, now you check whether A is equal to B. Then it says A is equal to B. Else, if the A is larger than B, print A is larger than B, else B is larger than A. So if you run this program as it is, now if I run this program, does it work or does it give the error message?
Gives the error message, sir.
Yeah, why?
Because the second if and else should be.
Yeah, second if and else. Yeah, remember this will give the error message. Why does it give the error message? As I told you, when you have the if else if with the two words. Now here else is a one word, if is another word. In that case, the indentation should be maintained properly. So here indentation is not there. Now if I just run this, you can see. So I just save the file and then run it. You can see it gives error message. Expected an indentation block. So it doesn't work. Why is that? As I told you, when you have the else if with the two words, this must be indented like this, and this should be indented, and this should come under the same line, and this must be indented. If you don't make the indentation with this one, that also error. Now you can see if I just run this, see it gives error message. So therefore you don't have the proper indentation. This should be indented. Now if I just run, save it. Now it works. So then you can give the input value, let's say 100 and B also 100. Now you can say 100 is equal to 100. It works fine. So therefore, you need to remember when you're using the if and else, else if with the two words, else is a one word, if is another word, in that case, proper indentation should be maintained. However, if you are using the else if as a one word, if you are using the else if as a one word, then all the indentation should be aligned to the same line. So in here, if I just take this else if as a one word, that means I just erase this one and then take this if here like this. If you write like this, remember in that case, you can have the same indentation with all the lines like this. So in this case, you can see if I just save the file and if I just run it. So if I give the values like this, you can see it works fine without any error. So then remember, the key points you should remember when you're using the ELIF together. So all these three can be aligned in the same line. All these things can be aligned to the same line and the same indentation. So here, all these three lines should be aligned to single line and the same indentation. This one has an indentation. This one has same indentation. This one has same indentation. So that is the key point you should know. We're not going to use the ELC as a two word or ELIF with the one word. This is the key point you should know. Is that clear? So we need to have some comparisons. In that case, is conditional operators can be used. This is for greater than. This is for greater than or equal. This is for the equality. This is for the not equality. So that can be tested with those conditional operators. And again, the logical operators can be used and or not can be utilized as it is in the Boolean algebra. That operator can be used to compare the two conditions together. Now, if you are going a very simple program, we all familiar with this program that is very famous question. When you input a number, we want to decide whether number is odd number or even number. So the flow chart is given. What you have to do is you have to input the value n and divide that value by 2. Mod operator means value divided by 2, get the remainder and check whether remainder is equal to 0. So in Python, what is the notation used for the mod operator? In Python, what will be used to represent mod operator? Remainder. How to get the remainder? Percentage. Good. Percentage must be used. Percentage should be used to get the remainder. So you get the remainder. If the remainder is equal to 0, that means it is divisible by 2. Then it is even. Otherwise, you have to say odd. So this program you can write very quickly or easily without any issues like this. So here you take the number integer and that will be converted to integer, save as n. And then you divide the n by 2, get the remainder r. And you check whether r is equal to 0 and the colon is there. Then you will say it is even. Else and the colon you will say it is odd. Very simple program. And this is what is this one? This one is a comment, the comment which will be ignored by the interpreter. So this is the simple program just to get the number which is converted to integer and divide that number by 2, get the remainder and check whether the remainder is equal to 0. If it is equal to 0, you will say even, otherwise you have to say odd. Now we have the 3 inputs. That is, you have 3 inputs A, B, and C. So we need to get 3 inputs. And then what do you do? We compare the first 2 numbers, A and B. We compare the A and B. And if it is true means A is large. Then you compare A and C. If it is true, that means A is larger than B, A is larger than C, that means A is the largest. However, if this condition is false, A is larger than B, but A is not larger than C, then the C is largest. If this condition false, that means B is largest, then you can compare the B and C. In that case, this is true means B is largest. This is false means C is largest. So this is the program to compare the 3 numbers and find out which one is largest. Very simple flow chart. So which has 3 numbers and we want to find out which number is the largest. So then if you ask to write the program, so you can write a simple program where you have to take the 2 numbers and compare each number one by one. So just we can modify this. Now here we take only 2 numbers. What you can do is you can take another number C. I just take the same line. So then I name that as C, that is its third number. And the user will enter the third number here, C. So then what do you need to do? First you have to compare A and B. First you have to compare A and B. A larger than B. So once you compare this, if the A is larger than B, that means condition is true. If the condition is true, we need to compare with A and C. A and C. If that is true, we have to say which one is larger. A is larger than B as well as A is larger than C. Then you have to say which one is larger. A is the largest. A is the largest. However, if this condition is false, if this one is false, that means else. This condition false, that means who is the largest? Then you can say print who is the largest. C is the largest. C is the largest. Then you can come to the else part here. Else. Else. And you can have the if. Else if. Now you have to look at whether this one else means this condition is false. This one is false. This one is false means B is the largest. We have to look at whether B is larger than C. If that is the case, we have to say B is the largest. B is the largest. Sorry. B is the largest. Else you have to say, if this is not true, you have to say C is the largest. So then you can see, you can just compare the two numbers. First you compare A and B and then get the A. If it is true, you compare A and C. Then you will say is the largest, else means is the largest. Now this condition false means, you come to the else part. That means this condition false means B is largest. Then you compare B and C. B and C. So in that case, when you compare B and C, if it is true, B is the largest. If that is false, C is the largest. So then we can just save this one. And you can run it. Then you can enter the two values, 200, 100, 300. So then it says 300 is the largest. But it doesn't check the equality, assuming we are not entering the equal values. So then you can easily write the program for that question. So that should be the answer